Alright. Today we're gonna do the collect all 50 spaceship parts challenge. Starting this one a little weirdly here. There pretty much is no way to get all parts with one vehicle except for this one method. And first you have to land on top of this building using a parachute. You could use the crane in the middle of the city. You could also use the one of the buildings, but otherwise there's not really a way to get up there. Now to get down, there is pretty much only one way to get down without dying, and that's jumping off this side of the building here and trying to ragdoll into one of the balconies. And it's a tough shot, so that's why I'm using a little cheat to make sure I don't die. But it can be done, and I will add to the video showing you guys how you can do it without dying. If your arm gets caught and kind of go into the upper balcony, then you can jump down. And sometimes you don't even take any damage. Sometimes you take a little damage, but you'll survive the fall. So for this challenge, I'm using the FIB Buffalo. It's got pretty good endurance, and it's actually not common in the game. You can kind of find it only by going out into the desert, and near the satellite sometimes there'll be FIB Buffalo parked around. So spaceship parts, to get the mission, first you have to speak to, I think it's Oscar? No, that's not his name. There's a guy out there who you first do a mission, and then he'll let you pick up the spaceship parts. If not, they won't appear around. So this route is pretty much the only way I can do it, because there are a couple of spaceship parts that you can't reach via land. So that first one on top of inside the pool on top of the building is one, and you can only reach that, like I said, via parachute, and then getting down is a problem. And then there's another one on a very high building, and there's no way to get down that one. So that'll be our last pickup, and that way we can sort of do it all with just one vehicle. So this route kind of starts me off in the city, which is weird, but it's only because I have to start there, and then we'll go in the countryside and end up back in the city. It's not the most optimal route, so it's going to take a little bit longer, but we should be pretty good to go. This FIB Buffalo is pretty tough and not so slow, so it's a good pick. Now in this tunnel section inside where there's a spaceship part, it's kind of weird. Anyway, I'll discuss it more in the other video when I do with the helicopter. It's kind of weird because there's a false roof, and you can't jog inside in the tunnel areas where outside of that one area where the mission takes place. But if you try to run in the regular tunnels, he'll just run, he'll jog, but he won't sprint. So at first I was trying a couple different ways to figure out how I could do this. Using only land vehicles, and it took me a lot of tries to figure out that I can jump off that building and not die. But the first few tries were just trying to get So I kind of left vehicles parked up there, and I would enable persistence, and that's like, hey, that's like my only cheat I'm using, because it's literally impossible. And then I would run the route and climb up the tower twice and jump off to get on top of the building, and then there would be a car waiting for me. So it turned out to be like 3 vehicles in total that were being used, plus cheats. So I figure once I found this, but again, the route originally using that original method was a lot shorter, and it actually ended in the airport, which should be the last one. That way you avoid some wanted flags. And the airport is really out of the way. But now we're gonna go to the airport, and we're gonna get wanted flags. And for some reason, you know, the FIB Buffalo is an official vehicle, and I don't know how these guys know that I'm not an FIB agent. It should be allowing me to, you know, avoid the stars, or have some delay, or have something for driving an official vehicle instead of just driving a regular car. I think that adds to the realism a little bit. A little bit of a delay, I guess, would be helpful, but no, it just says, hey, this guy's not supposed to be here, give him 3 stars. So there's gonna be quite a few areas here where we're gonna get stars, but this one's the most critical, because now I'm gonna try to make my way to the port area, and sometimes I can get cornered. The police will get me and corner me, and then I have to kill a bunch of them, but hopefully it won't be the case this time around. So the car's intact, but the headlights are gone already, which is kind of surprising. I really haven't bumped into anything, but yeah, they're made out of glass, so. Now, when we get here to the port, it's easier to come up to the front up the steps, but like I said, sometimes I get cornered here. And let's see what happens here. The spaceship part is on top of the pipe that connects these 2 giant, I guess, gas containers of some sort. And the really weird positioning of the steps here. I got 3 stars here. Let's see if they see me on top of the steps. Yep, they saw me. Well, now they're gonna have free access to the steps. I'm gonna have to blow a couple of them up. And it's kind of dangerous around these huge pipes here. Now what happens sometimes, I would blow accidentally the car up, but that's why I parked it in the back, and I have less police to go through. I just can't get the helicopter now. But all in all, pretty good. Didn't get shot too bad. As long as they don't pop a tire, should be good to go. Now I think a lot of this run I'm going to be using the sirens, so it's gonna be quite annoying, but yeah, sometimes it's useful. I'll turn it off sometimes when I can, but here I'm just trying to be stealthy. Not that it matters. So there are quite a few spaceship parts inside the water. This is the first one we're going to go to. It's in the water. And for some reason cops never come out here, so this is almost always where I can escape their attention. We got Franklin rocking the Bugstars outfit. And this spaceship is really a Franklin activity because he's the one who does the who finds the guy out in the field and gets the mission, and he's the one who gets to complete the mission after we get them all. So, although it does count also if you find out any of the characters, which is I think another thing that they could fix. So now they're going to do an expanded and enhanced edition. I really hope they just make a lot of small fixes, like for example the ones we've been talking about, but not really big stuff. Like I think that a lot of people are clamoring for them to finish the construction on the construction site. I don't think that's going to happen because there's mainline story missions that revolve around that, and I don't think they're going to make those changes. But they should, I mean, I guess the hope for me is that they add a lot of single player content, and it would be cool if they added missions for every character in the game, where, for example, you can be Steve Haynes, you can be Dave Norton, just one mission where you're one of them, and be able to do something, you know, on the side separate. I really haven't played a lot of online, so I'm pretty sure a lot of these guys do have missions online, but online I just feel that with the way they have it, your character is basically a nobody. Could be anybody, right? That's the whole idea. But, and there's of course a lot of backstory into some of the side characters like Lamar, but still you don't get to play as them. So I think that every, you know, all these characters could have at least one little side mission doing something a little interesting. It would be kind of cool. But I don't think it's going to happen just because that's a lot of work. And I really don't think they're going to put that much effort into it. It's a lot easier just to do the graphical enhancements and do a couple of things here and there, but nothing too crazy like that. Now the FIB Buffalo doesn't, unlike other cars, when the police cars, when you bang them up and you bang their sirens, the soundtrack changes for the siren, which is of course not how it would happen in real life. It's not like the lights are producing the sound. You should be able to break the lights and they should not affect the sound. But in this FIB Buffalo, it's almost impossible to break those lights. I mean, they're inside the vehicle. So when you roll over or you take front end crashes, you're not going to really break them up. Although maybe at the end I'll try to shoot them out and see if it does change the sound. Good thing about the emergency lights is that even if something happens and I lose track of the car, I always know where it is. Of course, it's black, so it's hard to find anyway. So like I said, I'm running most of these in reverse to where I had the practice run because of how I changed it. So sometimes I get a little confused of where the spaceship parts are. There are a few of them that will be done in turn, but not a lot of them. We could have gone over the mountains here and try to land right on top of the dam, but I just think it's way more damaging, and let's try to protect the car. Just started to get a little banged up.
Man, you got off lucky, homie.
Now we're out of the city. The sirens really aren't the big deal. So you can't get on top of that pier just because the water level's too high. But that changes. It could be below it, but most of the time it's right along with the water level. Now this car does have pretty good submarining abilities, but I'm not going to put it that far to the test. It's pretty cool, the detail here. It's kind of muddy, so he's got to walk kind of slow and jump around. Well, there's going to be a lot of off-roading, climbing across mountains here, but luckily gotten pretty good at it, and they are kind of smooth, so oof, that's a big hit. We'll be alright. So there's a couple of spaceship parts here. One here, right beyond this arch island. And now we're gonna go to the one in the cave north of the power station. And the vehicle is slightly banged up for where I want it to be at this stage, but should be good to go. Let's try to protect the left side as much as possible. The car has front emergency lights on the grille. They kind of stay on. It's a little bit weird. I don't think that is the intention. I think the idea of having a black car like this with the lights inside is that it's stealthy. And if you have lights that are red and blue on all the time, I think it avoids that. See, they do turn off when you get out of the car. Here we go, another underwater spaceship part. Taking a little damage, a little too much submersion there. That's a lot of damage. Again, another thing, instead of having a health bar, if you just had actual effects, like in that case, where you held your breath too long, your character just kind of spazzes out, and you get a little chance to panic swim to the surface, but if you don't make it, then you just drown and that's it. It's not a question of losing health. Same thing with gunshots. It'd be cool if they had a bleeding mechanism where you had to kind of either suture yourself up or get help before you bleed out. But they should of course make it take a while so that you can survive gunshots. I mean, it would just change the whole dynamic of the game, of course. Make it a lot harder. I was watching, recently just came out, a no-hit, one-hit knockout run. And I've been watching a lot of Dark Viper AU's videos. He's a speedrunner for this game, and he's been on that for a while, but some other guy just came up and did it. And he's really salty about it, but I think it's all fair unless the other guy cheated and did not, actually do it, or somehow it's not a verifiable run. But I do think that, kind of watching somebody's content, and I know Dark Viper's put a lot of effort into it, but, the guy came up with some of his own tricks, and he added to it, and he did his own thing, so I think that's enough. That's kind of how it works, I think. I mean, somebody just straight up copies you, that's not cool, but if they copy you and then improve on it, I think that's okay. But the game can be completed with no hits, so I guess you could say that adding a different health system wouldn't be absolutely game breaking, although it does take a lot of skill and a lot of exploits to be able to get that run. Like I think in one section where everybody has like armor and their what's that one? It's the Polito Bay heist where they rob the bank and the cops show up and they guys have like a ton of armor. There it's pretty much impossible not to get a hit, and he uses a lot of exploits of knowing exactly where everybody's going to be and basically laying C4 on all their spawn points, which is probably the only way to get out of that without getting hit. Of course, I think that's part of the whole thing. Like if you have the big giant protectors, it feels just more realistic. You know, small arm fire probably would not hurt you at all. Although, you know, people say wear vests and say it actually does hurt a lot and it can even knock you out. But with that giant armor, that's not a normal vest, so I think even the small arms should be able to proceed without any hits at all. Plus, I think if you're doing a no-hit run, it shouldn't count like bruises and these kind of things. The no-hit run ends even if you end up with the fight. There's a part early in the game where you're fighting the guy who sells the used cars. He's Franco's first boss. And Michael gets into a fist fight. If he punches you even once, the no-hit run is over. But I think if they change the health system, it wouldn't really be, you know, a hit per se. It's just a punch to the face, and you could eventually get knocked out. You know, it's just a meter that fills up and knocks you out. Which could be done to a lot of things. Like, look at all this crazy driving. We're jumping over hills, taking huge hits that even the best stuntmen would be completely, their insides would just be kind of crazy. So instead of a meter that lowers as you take hits, if you had a meter that fills up as you get knocked out, and you end up just getting knocked out for, you know, take a small period of time, and then you can just expand that the more times you get knocked out, and have that different be from like bleeding out due to death. And so they could change the whole mechanic where you go to the hospital instead of, you know, dying and showing up at the hospital. You could call the ambulance on yourself, and the hospital will, you know, take care of you in terms of major wounds and surgery and broken bones. But punches and all that, you just recover naturally over time. Your meter will start going down until you're like fully recovered. And you just go to the hospital yourself. Like I said, you take that gunshot wound and you have, like, say, you know, 6 in-game hours depending on where the shot is to get better. And then if you get shot, like, say, in the head and you die, then you don't go to the hospital. You know, you basically just backtrack to a previous point in the game. Like most games, you know, where if you die, you lose your progress. But they should make it so that you don't lose that much of your progress. I don't know. I know they have like auto saves, and they should have more auto saves, you know. But I'm all for eliminating these speedrunner exploits, like the ones where they fail a mission on purpose at a certain point because when you fail the mission there, the game will actually move you forward, or clean up everything around you. I think that that's not, it should, like, if you die, it should just bring you back a little bit, a pre-engagement state, and then you go from there. Never move you forward. Well, that's how everybody's going about it now. Doing improved and enhanced versions of games. There are a couple of games I guess I would like to see improved and enhanced versions of, like Metal Gear Solid 1. That's one that hasn't done. They've actually done a lot of the games that I like a lot. Like Resident Evil and things like that. This spaceship part decided to shed. Sometimes there's a guy there and break his table, he shoots him, so he didn't show up, so that's good. Now we got a long drive over to Paleto Bay. And I forgot where I'm going for a second. I think I've gotten through this area without killing any cows. Not sure, but been pretty good. I think we should consider turning the sirens on, as we are back on the highway for a nice long drive all the way to Paleto Bay. So the next spaceship part is inside of a barn. And we will get up onto the railroad tracks to be able to get there a little bit faster. And these emergency lights actually work out pretty well. The car's AI is pretty good at getting out of the way, all things told. Oh, there you go. Messed up my callous killing streak.
Off the road, little homie.
And the next spaceship part is in this. And I can guess is a practice tower for the fire department, which is a pretty cool thing to have here. I sort of like this building on fire practice now. In real life, I think that there's no way that a building for that purpose would be so close to other things, because it would just be crazy to see that on fire all the time. So that worked out. No damage from the barbed wire.
You need to pull over now. Stop.
Now in this section I actually go straight to the tram because I need a parachute. And that's the only reason I'm going here. I actually have to backtrack a little bit now because the way the tram works, it spawns with that first tram there waiting for you. So if you take too long getting to it, that tram will move and then you have to wait a really long time for the second one. So anytime you get to the area, go straight to the tram. You can get straight to the top. Now I'm gonna go over here and get this spaceship part underneath this tunnel list. And now comes a very tricky, perhaps infamous spaceship part. A lot of people have trouble getting to it, even with helicopters or parachuting or anything really. But I'm actually gonna, you'll see, I'm gonna use the parachute and use the car. And it's gonna be super Evel Knievel style. Let's first get this spaceship part over on this little island thing here, which is really strange. I don't think this would exist in really strange geological formations. But I don't know how that would work to have a huge island there and then have a sandbank behind it. Doesn't make a lot of sense. But this ramp here is super tricky because you can have gone over speed here and ended up in the water on the other side. So you have to take it really easy. Get this spaceship part. Now let's go to what will be the make or break it for this run. There's a lot of things that could happen in this section that we're gonna go to. So what's gonna happen is I'm going to drive up the mountain and then get a kind of jump going. As soon as I take the jump, I jump out of the car, open my parachute, and parachute underneath the bridge to get onto the support beams and then get the spaceship part. The car will land somewhere on the bottom, sometimes in the beach, sometimes on the road. Sometimes the car can just land upside down, and of course there's no way to flip it or get inside of it to flip it at that point. Of course also it can take a lot of damage if it falls in the wrong part, and it's never happened, but I keep thinking one of these days it's gonna blow up. But I'll take an extra long run because this is hard enough as it is. I want as much clearance as possible. Get out, open the parachute as soon as I can, and extend my flight down to underneath the bridge here. And even here you can die a lot of times. Even if you do everything perfect, you have to land without him rolling off and dying. And that was a perfect land. Now as I run into the spaceship part, do not hit the pillar. Sometimes he can bounce off and land and bounce off and fall off the ledge. And as you can see, I've already used my parachute, so I have no other parachute. You can't like stock parachutes in this game and say, hey, I got 2 or 3 of them, which is good, but still makes it extra annoying. And I can see the car made it, and that was perfect. Now we're gonna go head across the through the valley here and go to where the train mission takes place and get the spaceship part that is on top of the island at the waterfall. This is another swimming area. And what's really dangerous here is the drive there. And actually getting back in the car is quite hard enough to climb up the wall, but we should be able to do it. Come down here, and he's gonna fall and take a little bit of damage, but it's not so bad. And this water has some current, so check this out. I'm gonna jump and aim a little bit to the side and let the current take me to the island, and it works out perfect. Now going the other way, for some reason, this doesn't work out the same way. The current is way stronger for some crazy reason. As you can see, it will just sweep me across. And I have to swim back a little bit. Here in the swimming simulator. Now you have to kind of jump up this wall here, and I found that the best way is spam the jump button, but since he has to take a curve, it's a little harder. And there I took a major amount of damage. You can actually die here if you're not careful, but just gotta get the right angle around this rock, and he will bunny hop his way over there. Which of course would look a lot more natural if they included a rock climbing mechanic where he just kind of grips the ground and walks up it. It shouldn't be too hard. It should be a lot slower, but it shouldn't be too hard. Now we're going to get one that I totally understand how to get it coming the other way, but coming back up this mountain here. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, so sometimes I get a little lost trying to locate the spaceship part, but this section has these kind of razor rocks, these lifting formations out of the mountainside, and you just kind of choose the lane here to get to the lane that we want, which is all the way in the back end. And we wouldn't be able to really reach it normally, but we're just gonna backtrack a little bit more than we need to. Here it is. Now we go up and change our lane here to this more rear one. I think the center of all these formations, when you look at it from the sky, and this is also a dangerous part here. You can fall off or trying to grab it. You can also drive your car down there, but then getting it off is going to require taking a little bit of damage, so I'd rather walk it because the car's pretty banged up already. And now don't fall off this crack here, it's very easy. There we go. Now the next one is going to be underneath the bridge that's ahead of us. And we try to take as little damage here as possible, but we lost almost all doors there. We lost our rear door. We still got two on the passenger side. Here, the next spaceship part is actually on the other side of this river, but we're gonna take the bridge across. We could have shot across, and but sometimes the car will sink, so it's not worth it. Better to backtrack across it. It's not too much of a time killer anyway. Now to continue, we'll have to get across the river, but from this side it's a lot more manageable to get a nice low location. Now again, the trick with going over water is that there is a deep point that no matter how small time you get inside the water, if your car goes too deep, it will die. But if you're in the water for too long, it'll also die. So if you can just get the car like there, skimming across but not hitting that deep point. And it was really close, but I've done it, so I know that it can be done. Also, some cars will die a lot faster. Motorbikes will just stop instantly. So if I had a motorcycle, I would not be attempting that. Next, we're gonna go to Spaceship Part near this boat. There's actually another boat very close to here, very similar, a couple houses with a boat. But it's this large one on top of this hill here. And now we'll make our way to another spaceship part and another house. Quite similarly, but this time there's no boat. It'll actually be right in front of a barbecue grill.
Your brain damage. Government open the artifact and unleash hell.
There we go. And I've ended these guys because the government literally came and take their spaceship part. And I just think driving around a black government vehicle, picking up spaceship parts is really, is really the way it should be done. I could have picked this one, I could have picked the Granger, but the Granger is huge. But if it's Franklin, he's got plenty of experience driving around a Buffalo. Now this one is a little bit weird how to get to it quickly. It is behind a broken down house. All these rooms, and I think it is better to get out of here and just take the roads because I'm gonna lose a car here. But I haven't gotten to this part really going backwards, so I don't know how to get to things backwards. These would have been at the beginning of my run, using the most efficient method. But I like this better. It keeps it true to the title, where you're going to use just one car, no helicopters, no other vehicles. We got 13 parts to go. Now we're going to make our way to 2 parts in the reservoir area. Again, for how well this run's going, it's just amazing how much time it takes to drive to places. And I've been real lucky with the car, not having a lot of trouble starting up. And a lot of these parts are able to get to, and you can park right next to it and take them out. But like you've seen, there are some of them that require swimming. And there's another swimming one we're gonna get to in a second. I need some armor because we're gonna be hitting cops again soon. So I'm gonna take this armor right on my way. And now we're gonna head to the reservoir. Okay. Alright, this spaceship part. Sorry, I have to go away there a little bit. Paused it. This spaceship part, we're gonna have to walk across this handrail because he cannot jump to the top of that. And the only other way would be to squeeze a motorbike through those poles. And of course a helicopter, but it can be done with the car. It's just not working for me right now. Let's try the other side. No. Usually I can get it one go. For some reason, it just doesn't want to do it. And maybe trying to do it too fast. You kind of have to land, stand for a little bit. And if I can get him to climb up, put his hand on the post, should work out. Okay. No, not work out. Okay, let's try to just keep out of here. Oh. Let's see. If he doesn't grab by the pole, it's not. It should be taking it, but for some reason he's just falling off. I should have gotten it on the first try, to be honest with you, but I walked off of it. I do it by, oh, that's terrible, by adjusting the camera angle. The thing is, I think I'm trying to overcompensate by trying to fall inside, but in reality I just gotta keep it centered. And the trick, at least for me, is to... Man, this is a terrible time killer. My run would have been just great, but it's definitely getting ruined now. And if I had picked a motorbike, I would have been done by now. But even then, because I never really tried it, I know that you can do it, but you don't have to do this balancing act at least. And I've actually run across it, like, no problem, but for some reason today I just can't do it. Alright, 12 Spaceship Parts ago. I felt like I wasted 10 minutes. Now this next spaceship part is another swimmer. Right near the base of this dam area. It is faster to swim underwater, so that's why I try to swim as much underwater as possible. And here I can climb over one shot. Now we're going to go to the observatory.
Ooh, too close.
So I actually lost the rear left emergency lights, the red ones.
Sorry, little dude.
But the front lights are still intact. This is a bit of a tough climb, a little bit tricky. And the car's a little beat up, but I should be able to power through it. Just gotta keep myself stuck to the ground here without hopping. Now I'm gonna climb and get this spaceship part, but it might result in damage when you drop off. Oh, see, that happens to me all the time too, where I fall and take no damage. Now we're going to jump across this mountains and get to the first one. I don't know what route is best here. I know that I can... One time I crossed the mountains and landed in the river, so I gotta be careful. So I am completely destroying the car here. But it's got pretty good help, and there's not that many to go. Even though it says 10, it's actually a quick 10 for me at least. This spaceship part is yet another swimmer. It's at the base of this waterfall here. And the next one is in this farm area, in between the hedgerows. But I don't know which one it is, but let's just guess one. Hopefully we're lucky. And this ain't it. See, I always know it from this side. I know which one it is. Now this spaceship part here. This is actually the first, this is where to start the run in the most efficient manner. Starting in this house here. I've got 7 to go. I'm gonna work our way back into the city. First, getting the spaceship part that's in the cave. It's gonna take me a little bit to figure out how to get there because I've never actually done it before. Also, we can get to those mountains. I'm definitely not gonna take the roads. Right here on the other side of this mountain, following this river that we're coming up to down. It's right next to it, so it should be okay. The FIB car is a very good climber. So I'm going to work my way down the river. The tunnel should be underneath me. So this cave is pretty cool. A feature you don't see everywhere else. I'm not sure what other purpose it is other than to hide that space part.
Man, you should have jumped.
Now we're gonna get the spaceship part at the rehab center parking lot. And it's just over here at the next corner. Make a left.
you got off lucky, homie.
Seatbelts, that's a definitely other thing they should add to the enhanced version. Just makes total sense. Just like drivers, just like the motorcycles, or you don't wear a helmet, you get extra damage. Seatbelts. Fine, Spaceship Parts to go. Now we're going to be heading over to the golf course. And you actually don't get stars. You just stay a little bit close to the fence. I always thought that you had to get stars at the golf course, but I'm finding out that you haven't. I don't know if this is something that they changed from one of their last updates or what.
That's dumb luck right there.
No stars now. I know if I go too far in here, I will get stars, but at least it allows me to get the spaceship parts. And as long as I enter the same way, I'll be good. And I'm really glad I didn't get all the way wet there. I always try to stay dry. Now we're gonna head over to the studio, and that's why I got the bulletproof vest, just in case I get all shut up here. And it's actually on the set on the second floor, and we'll get stars, but security guards are hanging out today, so that's good. In daytime, I'll be getting shot up right now.
Man, only inches.
Alright, 3 to go. Now let's see what kind of problems we end up with here.
Dispatch, the suspect is on foot.
Copy that, 10-4.
In this section, I like to
LSPD! Freeze! Are you fucking kidding me?
keep the car parked
On your knees!
in the street,
Get some cover and fire over there!
so it gives me more options to get back to it.
LSPD, don't move! Reloading! Take this! Got your cover! They just disappeared! Poser!
Hopefully the cops won't see, but I think they will. Yeah, they caught me. Well, that's why I park in the street, so that I can blow them away and still be able to get in my car. If not, I'll accidentally blow my own car up. Oh, oh, that's insane. Oh, he's right there. Run. Literally 2 to go. I almost ruined this. I'm definitely not taking the direct route. I am now starting a fight right now. Which emergency vehicle is mine? The one that's missing doors. Good, no problems. Whoa, I totally wrecked it there. Engine's starting to smoke, but you know, to be honest, I'm not too worried. Unless that train comes and slaps me, I'm really not too worried. I'm almost at the end here, and to be honest with you, and if it dies a little bit later, I'll walk it.
Woo, too close.
Because the penultimate spaceship part is underneath the highway,
Hey, you just turned this into a
the
buck.
hobo village.
What's going on?
And that leaves the car on by making sure I can't get out the doors. Makes it a little easier to get in and out of the car. Now we just drive a little bit north. And there's the crane. And we're gonna make our last jump. We'll be abandoning our vehicle here. I don't know why the sirens didn't seem to be that functional there, but now what I gotta do is climb to the top and jump. We're looking to aim between the FIB and IA towers. And the tower we're looking for is, I forgot the name of it, but it's actually right above where the spaceship part is in the in construction subway station. And it looks we've done around about 36 hours, a day and a half. And of course, if you want to see this in the most condensed version, I will be doing a helicopter run. It's a lot easier to see just where the spaceship parts are there. But it is possible to get all 50 spaceship parts using just one car in one run. Another thing that could add to the enhanced version is your player getting tired. I mean, this guy's been out here marathoning, swimming, jumping, doing crazy amounts of driving in in-game time 36 hours. I mean, he'd be falling dead right now. I think by the time we get there, it's going to be about 40 hours. Alright, now let's get our... Oh! Yeah. We actually can't lose that much height, so I gotta extend this flight. Actually, if you had jumped the right way, we'd be able to do a little more diving on the way there, but we decided to trip. But it looks like I'll make it pretty good. I want to make absolutely sure. There we go, all spaceship parts, final time of 7:50.